So, here we are again at the desk cam, this time with a higher quality webcam and a proper webcam mount. Though my pal Mechagodzilla from the last video is still hanging around. I'm also still not an artist. Yet. But now I've been drawing every day for 100 days, and seeing as my inspiration for this Learn to Draw challenge was Pewdiepie's Art Journey series from a year or year and a half ago, that means it's time for another update. We saw last time just how much I progressed over just 30 days. And I was pleased to see that despite it being so different from my usual content, the video did decently well here. Which I hope means that you enjoyed it, and if you did, this one should be even more fun. It was certainly more fun for me. Seeing marked improvement can do that. The biggest challenge, really, is trying not to compare my progress to other people's. Whether to PewDiePie himself, other people who did similar challenges, or just anyone who draws. Everyone's path of progression is different. There's obviously no one way to get to where we want to be, and we all start from different points, with different levels of innate talent, etc. So, just like last time, I'll just ramble now as I go through all that I've accomplished over the past 2+ months. Where did all the time go? I really couldn't tell you. Anyway, time to switch camera locations to get onto the attempts at art. So we pick up right where we left off last time, at day 30, where I did a semi-decent attempt at sketching Miho from Girls and Panzer, and continuing on with the papers I liberated from work. Day 31, an attempt at, I think it was Mika from Girls and Panzer also. Not terrible, but also, I'm like, wait, I'm going to try and keep this in a good camera angle. The lighting here is kind of still terrible, and yes, I am doing this basically unscripted again, so if I ramble a little bit, apologies. And then attempted something of my own, I think, that came out not that great. I don't know if this was supposed to be a specific character or just something I came up with. But as you can see, I'm still basically focusing pretty much entirely on faces here as I continue on past day 30. My little papers. I don't think this is anybody specific either, just another attempt at getting practice with the hair, getting practice with different face angles, because it's still a bit of a challenge to figure out how it's all supposed to look. This one did not come out so good. I tried to add some horns there that did not really work. But I can't hide from, the less good ones, because that's how we learn. And gotta keep going, and I'm not gonna just skip days because I think a day didn't come out so good. I also tried doing some more of that, kind of shading in with the pencil, because I kind of like how that looks sometimes. This is an attempt at one of the characters from my upcoming manga, the Amaranth Angels. This, I think, is supposed to be Rosehip, pretty sure. From Girls and Panzer also, kind of a little bit wider than it probably should have been. Like, the hair probably should go higher, though I kind of ran out of room. Using these little tiny papers. This is some very deliberate attempts at practicing hair. I think Chisato, Linkerous Recoil, maybe. But it's another couple days of practicing just hair. This one came out actually nice, a little bit nicely. Kind of like this one. Day 44 here. Some practice of head shapes, different angles. I was never quite satisfied at how these come out, so I kind of switched gears later on. Then we get to day 46, more of that. Now, as you might be wondering, that's only day 46. Where the rest of the papers, we went to day 100 here. So I'm not lying about hitting day 100, but we've reached the first of a couple upgrades that you're going to see over the course of the challenge here. I think I might have spoiled another one in the background, knocking things over. Don't worry about that. It's all fine. We're all fine here. Great. An actual sketchbook. Decent size one, too. But I was going to continue this, so I wanted to actually use real paper, both better quality paper, and obviously more space to work, and a proper book that it's all enclosed. I don't have to worry about loose papers everywhere. So I don't know how this was like $10 on Amazon or something. And so we get right into day 47. I think you can see it okay. The light here, if anything looks awkward while I'm editing the video, basically, I'll take photos of any specific pages and just add that in, edit that in over here. So, more of the same. Working on faces. And this is Takina from Linkerous Recoil. Also with more of that shading, I kind of realized here that I have to be a little bit careful with using a lot of pencil because kind of transferred over to the other side here. So here's some practice with just shapes and a little bit of body figure attempt practice because I want to start moving on to that. And so yeah, some more practice of just different ways to figure out how poses work for characters, how the lines work, and like there's a whole bunch of tutorials on this. If I remember this time, I'll try and link a couple in the description, and kind of how like these are all basically combinations of different shapes attached to each other. So I don't want to waste too much time because I don't want this video to be ridiculously long, but it is twice as many pages to go through as last time. That was like a pretty decent one actually. I don't know if it's not a specific character, just an attempt at character with some clothing here. And clothing is actually something that came easier to me than just character faces, surprisingly enough. I don't know if that's normal or just me, but I kind of like how that came out, the little uniform. Day 53, I was feeling a little bit patriotic. I never actually played Girls Frontline, but, Negative is a source of national pride. So I tried to draw her, and I think it came out actually pretty decent. Hair is still some work to be desired, obviously, and I did like how I did the shading here with the pencil. But you could tell I kind of really just wanted to do color here. But I didn't feel like I was ready for that, at least at this point. Spoiler alert, it might happen later. Also, the clothing part of this came out pretty nicely for me. I'm very happy with how that looked. Face, okay. Still, I'm always going to be my own worst critic probably, but that's true for everybody who does anything creative. So here's some more attempts at faces. I tried to draw another face looking upward here, I think. Kind of worked out alright. Not that great. And some more of the same head practices, face practices. And so day 58, another one of that, and day 59. This is where I decided it's time to move on and stop doing only faces and move on to full figures, or at least mostly full. Obviously, this is the Girls and Panzer character. You might recognize her as Emahida from Kor Morimine, also known as Malko. She was the commander of the Mouse back in Season 1, and now she commands, I think, Panzer 4, Panzer 3 in the last finale. So obviously I drew this with a reference. Like I had the actual character art up on the screen in front of me and used that as a close reference to draw on the paper from. But I'm actually very happy with how this one came out, and this definitely encouraged me to keep going with doing more than just heads and faces from this point. Obviously I chickened out with the hands here. But I do like how the clothes came out again. The uniform, again, I don't know if it's just a me thing or if it's normally the case, but for whatever reason, at least when I have a reference to work off, clothing comes out pretty nicely for me, generally speaking. So, day 59, and then I moved back. I guess these might have also been days where I had less time to work, because this definitely took me at least half an hour, if not longer. So, day 60, back to some of these head angle practices. Had very little time on day 62. It's almost a waste of a page. I kind of feel bad just leaving it blank like this. And day 63. This was a attempt at doing anchovy. It did not work out that well. It was a way too complicated pose that I found as a piece of fan art that I wanted to use as reference. But I was not ready for this at this point. It was beyond me. So I kind of give up about halfway. This is like with the cape. So that's kind of why it looks almost like she has wings here. But, yeah, so not completely trash, but I'm not happy with this one at all. So back to some more heads and faces. Again, probably days where I had less time. You could tell when there's like a paper towel coming up that there's something I did more, more work on, more effort on. So this, another character from my manga project. And her pilot's outfit. Again, you can tell I really wanted to do color here because I wanted to get different shades of different parts of the outfit. Again, checking down with the hands, I kind of did a little bit of fingers here, and the other hand I strategically hid behind her back so I didn't have to draw, which I think is a common way of avoiding use of hands or drawing the hands in the art. But I'm overall, not unhappy with how this one came out. Let me move on. And then this definitely needed the paper towels because it would transfer a lot of that pencil to the other side without it. So another short day of work probably. You're going to see as time goes on, I start spending more and more time on this, which I guess is good for the art and bad for other things I have to get done in my life. But it is what it is. So, day 71. Here we go. Here's where things start to get more interesting. So, this is a Chisato, Licorice Recoil. Again, I'm happy with how the clothes came out. like quite a bit. Also using reference from here since they got a screenshot from the show. Head I'm not as happy with. I think it was also again too short. Like the hair needs to go higher up. The face shape is a little bit off, but overall I'm pretty happy with how this one came out. And again, it's going to see a lot more like this forward. This one I like a lot. This is for anyone who's familiar with Face Connect, which I'm sure a bunch of you are. That's Tenma. She's fun. Go watch her streams, especially when she's drinking. A little Rage Office Fox. This is based off a screenshot from a stream. I don't know which stream, but I just googled screenshots because I wanted to do a pose that wasn't just someone staring straight ahead. So I found one where she was a little bit tilted to the side. And if I get this better angle here, the camera is better, but again, the lighting in my room really sucks. So I might also just put this one on the screen when I edit. And then moving on from her, this is just a character I just drew from no reference. So you could tell when I don't use a reference, it's obviously going to be much worse because I don't have a model to guide me as I draw. But this also came out pretty decently. Something else I've realized as I draw is drawing flat characters is definitely easier because you have less to worry about in the upper body area in terms of detail and making things look right. It is something I noticed as I kept going with this challenge here. Also another short day. This is like a joke character some people I know were making called Silly Girl. Forget the actual context. It was something about burgers. But I decided, you know, I might as well try and draw this meme character because everybody I know was having fun with it. So I tried that out for one day. My first attempt at like a full body, whereas, you know, from head to the feet. And it didn't come out terribly. So getting a little better at the hair. You can see also as we progressed through here, like this hair came out much nicer than some of my other hair attempts. Where were we? 77. This is another attempt I abandoned. One of my light novel characters, based off of art that I'll put on the screen here, of like an extra bonus art that we actually used for a standee that I sell at conventions. So I gave up about halfway, and you'll see why when you see it on the screen, because it's a pretty complicated composition between all the hair. She has a rifle in the actual image and everything else. So a little bit beyond me. This is another Chisato. Again, kind of got some of the head stuff a little bit off, but I'm trying to work on more, you know, different angles of the head and face. So there's going to be a learning curve there. We only just see, I can move the sketchbook as we need to see better. I probably should have done that from the beginning, but it is what it is. So this one I liked. Day 80 was like a high point for a while. Is obviously one and only student council president from Girls and Panzer. Again, based on a reference. I used a screenshot, I think, from probably their film. I don't remember off the top of my head. I have to go through my file, see if I saved the image as a reference specifically. But I'm really happy with how the face came out here. Obviously the uniform too came out nicely, and the hair even I'm happy with. So this is another attempt at an original character. I think based on an idea for a character in one of my light novels that I've written that I haven't published yet. And my shadow is probably getting in the way there, but again, the lighting here is trash. Maybe I'll put a picture of the light bulb that's casting this light because it's in a really awkward spot and it's not a great fixture. So let's move on. More attempts at heads with extra features on it. So I have the horns here, I have the ears there. This one also I'm pretty happy with. It's also another of my early, obviously you see my early attempts of a full body illustration. Again, based on referencing one of the character promo images, I think, from Licorice Recoil. And this time I actually did try and draw hands. And they came out not terribly, considering especially that the hand pose is a little bit awkward because of the way she's positioned. But taking it carefully and having the reference, obviously, as a guide is a big deal because I can just look at that, see, okay, I have to do it this way, and just try and follow the model as best I can. Now we're getting into the last 17 days, so we're going to see some more fun stuff here. These are both attempts at using references from my manga panels. Maybe I'll put some of that on the screen. My artist is really great, and obviously I have all these resources here I can use for reference for little faces like this, for half bodies and stuff like that. Might as well use it. They came out okay. So the face is a little bit too rigid here, too blocky, so the proportions are a little bit off. 85, some more pencil shading attempts. This is Hollow from Spice and Wolf, which I watched a couple months ago. That was a fun one. I liked how the ears came out on this one, which has been a challenge so far. And then, here we go. This is another character from a manga panel of mine. My artist, but my project. This is a Takina that I'm very happy with. It's So yeah, you see my main themes of my art is basically Girls and Panzer, Licorice Recoil, my stuff. So you get a sense of what anime and stuff I actually enjoy the most. That's what I choose to draw. And so another couple of attempts at illustrations based off manga panels. As good, but these also were shorter days here. And here we go. Color. I wasn't ready. Color. I found some decent color pencils by my folks' place that they weren't using, so I borrowed them permanently. My first attempt at color. This is another one of my characters from my manga. I'll put a picture of the art this is based off of. It's the reference on the screen here. I'm overall pretty happy with how this came out. The head is a little bit too small, I think, maybe. It's a little bit proportions a little bit off, but the body proportions actually came out pretty nice. I actually showed this to my artist in our chat, and he said it came out pretty good. And from him, that's pretty high praise. So if he said it came out pretty decent, I'm happy with it. Even though obviously it is still pretty amateur out. The color though, the color pencil doesn't transfer as much, but it's still I rather just protect it because I want to use both sides of the page. I might as well use all the paper that I have here. This is Leah from Face Connect. Kind of happy with this one too. A nice little sketch based off screenshot. And my sister, for some reason, when I showed this to her, she has a lot more art experience than I do, so I showed her a couple of these for her feedback. She knows nothing about VTubers, so I don't know how she pegged Leah as someone to be scared of, but some people just know, I guess. Here's where I get more ambitious. This is Clara, also from Face Connect. She's very fun too. And this was also based off of an official art of hers. And this came out actually pretty nicely. I kind of gave up a little bit with at the end here with the hair, because it gets a little bit wild. But I'm very happy with how the overall body shape came out. It's pretty good match to the original artwork. And this is one I might come back to at a later date. Some proper line art on here with the pencil, like darker, harder pressed pencil, and maybe color at some point. But for now, I'm happy with it as it is. So this is kind of where I've been peaking lately. Another one familiar to anybody who's a fan of Girls and Panzer. This is Erica. Also one I'm happy with, especially because it's another complicated pose that I wanted to try and do using reference. Although this one was actually a harder thing to do from reference. I remember the pose from Das Finale opening, and I knew it was a kind of interesting pose to draw her in because it was something that would challenge me in terms of how she's sitting and a nice little image. But then I realized as I watched the trailer that it basically is like a pan-up shot. So there's no one screenshot of her entire, figure here. She doesn't even show all of her. It kind of cuts off, like here, I think, in the actual shot. So I had to kind of composite two screenshots to have that as a reference to draw this. And I didn't intend to just do, like, the red as a contrasting thing here, but it kind of worked out nicely. I mostly did that because I wanted to keep track of where those red accents were supposed to be on the uniform. And it came out pretty nicely. The leg is a little bit off here. But overall, the general figure came out pretty nicely. So this one I like a lot. So I'll probably use as part of the thumbnail for this video. Although if you're already watching, you've already seen it. Day 94? My handwriting is terrible. Yes, 94. This is Sheena from Face Connect also. You might see a theme. But there's some very fun VTubers to watch if that's your thing. This is her Kani outfit, the crab. And this was a little bit of a fun one. This is an attempt at drawing her in her main outfit. So it came out pretty nicely. Also, again, I think I have a tendency to make the heads a little bit too short in terms of like how high up the hair should go. But also this is like a pretty complicated design in terms of so much hair everywhere and the like flowing parts of the outfit and the little scissors sword back there. Not little, but you know what I mean. Day 95, this is an attempt at a character from my light novel project that I'm working on also. Not that great, but again, this is what you see, like the differences from, having a reference to use as a map versus drawing completely, on my own, maybe using another illustration as like a pose model or something like that. But like I tried doing that here. I drew, based off a reference, a pose model that I wanted to try, but doesn't quite translate as well to the actual illustration because that's from my head. Sorry, this is a little bit too rambly, but I realize this is going kind of long. I might edit a little bit of this down. We'll see. I don't want to cut that stuff out, but also I don't want this video to be half an hour long. But again, it is a lot of stuff to do here. A refined version of this character that I did the past 2 days. trying to draw the perspective of her sitting on a wall, though they messed that up a little bit. This should be lower, I think, so that it gives more of the illusion of, sitting on something flat. But overall, it came out decently. I guess I'd say it would be good enough for me to give to my artist, who's actually a professional artist, to then have him turn into a proper concept art, which is kind of one of my goals with drawing, is to be able to do that, give him better starting points than trying to like Google images online and then say, this character's body type, this character's hairstyle. Like, now I can just draw my own thing and kind of give him some better guidelines of how I want to start this. So getting to the end of this is another character from that same light novel that I entered into the J Novel Club light novel contest. I'm waiting to hear if I got to the second round. I think in end of March they're supposed to let us know. I got there last year to round 2, so hopefully this year as well I'll get at least that far, if not further. And again, I'm also working on more hands because hands are scary, but I have to try the hard things because you can't ignore them forever. Chickened out here. So I'm going to see some more color, I think, here, if I remember correctly, because day 99. This one I like, though. This one came out nice. This is obviously Anchovy, and another attempt at full color. And also I remembered that I really should darken the line art as I go for these. That's how you normally see like anime style illustration stuff. So again, using a reference obviously helps a lot. I'm sure there's different opinions of that in the art community about whether using references a lot is good or bad. Because on the one hand, obviously, you're very reliant on having references for stuff like this. On the other hand, it does help your brain kind of understand how things go and where things are supposed to go in different kind of composition, how the hair might flow or kind of sit, or how clothing might be positioned on the body. And you could, not necessarily muscle memory, but you could get some practice of drawing things based on how do I word this? Based on a ready available model, and get practice doing things like that, and then you could apply that when you try to do things on your own without using a direct reference, and then improve that way. So I'm trying to mix it up a little bit to do some of each. So 99, I drew from a reference, like very clearly. That's pretty widely seen official art of her. This is based off of. And I'm kind of happy with how this perspective came out too. Day 100, I went fully from my own creation. I did not use any direct reference for it. Obviously, again, I had some poses to reference. I had some outfits on the screen, as reference for that. So I was looking around to find things that would look the part. This, again, is a character from that light novel that I entered in the contest that I'll be publishing probably as a web novel eventually if it doesn't win the contest. And also here, I upgraded it again because I was running low on pencil lead. So, enter proper pencils. I have a whole set of pencils now, mechanical pencils with different size lead, different thicknesses. Some of these are very fine. These are not quite as fine, but they have dedicated points as opposed to these that are just the normal flat lead that you could get finer lines by drawing it on the edge. And some color lead options as well, and obviously erasers. This looks very fancy, but this is about $12, $13 on Amazon. So not a big investment. Like, I'm still scared to invest in stuff like markers because it's costs more, and I might try at some point to like get a black marker to use for the line art and then stay with pencils for the colors for a while, because the pencils can do a decent amount for what I want to try right now. But yeah, so this is my day 100 capstone for this video update. I think it came out pretty nicely, considering that, again, I wasn't using a direct reference here. I tried adding the color. Like the leg here, the perspective is not, I haven't figured out quite yet how to get the perspective right of these leg angles, and how to show, like shoes pointing at the camera. So those are things I have to both watch some tutorials on to practice getting better at, and also to just, do more on my own, whether, with tutorial handy or not, to get better at those. But my hair has gotten a lot better. It's still amateur. Like, I'm not going to call myself an artist yet, I don't think. Maybe a beginner artist, I would say. But it's been a very, very fun project so far. And day what are we on now? I'm going to keep these hidden for when I eventually do another video. Okay, I'm up to day 102 right now. So I haven't drawn more. I am going to keep doing this for at least a year for video purposes. I don't know if I'm going to wait that long for an update. Following the Pewdiepie timeline that he did with his art videos, I don't know. But there will be another art update at some point in the future. And obviously, I might do some additional art-related content in terms of this, learning process as time goes on, because I am really enjoying it. Again, it is very satisfying to be able to see a creation, even if it's not perfect, on the page like this. And then again, like I said before, I could give this to my artist. I could show it to him and say, this is basically the idea I had in mind. Now can you turn this into something that looks professional? So, yeah, so that's basically this art update video. Hope it wasn't too rambling. I know we've gone for about half an hour now. Oh my god. One of my longer videos. So yeah, I might have to cut this down a little bit. We'll see if I can manage that without cutting out any pages here, because I don't want to skip days, because I feel like it's disingenuous. And I want you to see the whole process here. And obviously going forward, if you guys would like to see me do maybe a drawing stream at some point, like, I could do that. I have a setup now. I'll post a picture of it. I got myself a proper webcam mount. So I have, my streamer setup is getting more elaborate every time I do one of these videos. So I have some options. If I want to do a drawing stream, I could try that. Although I do want to get better lighting in here, because I keep complaining about my lighting. But it's bad. So I could do that at some point also if you want to see. Again, I can't promise much because I'm, still an amateur at this. But it's very fun. And obviously, if you're also interested in trying out some art, whether it is for fun or whether you really want to build it to a point where you're making even a little bit of money off it, like, the only way to do it is to start somewhere. So, like, you saw where I started at day one. I'm going to post a picture of it here on the screen. And, how far I've gotten since then. So, and if I could do this, like, having never drawn a character or never even tried to draw, a character beyond a stick figure, if not ever, if it's been, it had been years and years and years since I really tried to do anything like this. So if I could get this far in 100 days, like doing mostly 10 minutes a day, I mean, again, I think I mentioned earlier a little bit that I've been doing more than 10 minutes a day. Obviously, this did not take me 10 minutes. This took me about an hour at least, maybe 2. I don't know for sure. I really should keep track of some of these with like a timer maybe. But things like this also, like at least half an hour to an hour, especially with the color adding. That adds at least another 10 minutes to the process at the end. So I obviously spend more time on it, and I might do some drawings later on that are, multi-day drawings, because I really don't want to spend too much time because I have other things to do in life. I have books to write, books to edit, videos to make that require a lot more editing than this one will, and everything. But I'm definitely going to continue on this journey here, learning to draw semi-amateurly because it's fun and creating stuff is cool. And yeah, I think I've rambled on enough. We're definitely past half an hour by this point, pre-edit. So that'll about do it. If there's anything else I want to add that I forgot, I'll do it in post. But for now, thank you again for checking out the second installment of my art journey, my Learn to Draw challenge. So the challenge still is at least 10 minutes a day. Like, it's obviously no more just 10 minutes a day, period. It's 10 minutes plus. 10 minutes is like the minimum if I don't have a lot of time. Obviously, if I want to do something that I want to finish in one day, I'm going to keep it up till it's done, and we'll go from there. So that'll be all for now, and next time we'll be back to more standard videos here. But again, if there is a demand for you guys, if you want to see more art related stuff, I'm happy to oblige. So let me know in the comments below, or if you have any other thoughts. Obviously, if there's any artists in the audience here, feel free to give me any tips and tricks or feedback, because, like I said, I'm not staking too much of my ego on this. I know I'm not great at it. I've been doing it for 3 months, so I'm not going to be offended if anything critical comes on here, really. But it's just a fun hobby right now. And, yeah. So, again, I keep rambling, and it's late right now, but I wanted to get this filmed so I can edit it and get it out on time. So I hope you guys have a good one, and until next time.